lies. You hid your name to capitalize. Oye, Montoya, a fraud from the start. Fake notary seal and tampered chart. Sold your oath for cartel gold. Now El Paso knows the lies you told. You're a fake, a fraud, a liar in a suit, and the ghost of Richard Halliday's coming for you. You see, he didn't just run for office. He ran a con. He didn't just drop a name. He dropped the truth. He needed a Mexican name, Montoya for the vote. His campaign promise was fake too. Death for Cruzius, that's the vow he told you. But a plea deal was made with his hand. He's a liar at the cartel's command. You're a fake and a fraud, serving the FTOs, trafficking lies across border roads. James Montoya, liar in a suit, and the ghost of Richard Halliday's coming for you. Oye, Montoya, got ears like satellite dishes, but still can't hear the people screaming fake loud and clear. This ain't politics. This is a cartel network. This is an FDO. Ya basta. The people see clear. Your eyes saw the big gig, not the victim's tears. Justice for Richard Halliday. Fight, 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 fight. Expose this fake DA hiding in plain sight. Oh yeah! Montoya, filled now with a 2028 date. Ni madre sin. It's a system rot from the cartel within. Fraudulent forms, fake notary applied. He's illegally sitting, should be indicted, tried. You can't fight for the slain with a DA this fake. They're laundering justice for the cartel's sake. The truth's in the timestamps, the crime's in the redactions. And if the DA's the problem, then the solution, federal action. Esto no se queda así.
Because I was the hunted, and now I'm the hunter. It's a big difference. Big difference.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Okay. Hi, everybody. We are coming on August 21st, 2026 at 11:59 a.m. Almost midnight. It's almost midnight. And like every day on these 2,210 days today since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room because he was a whistleblower and he was under protection, but his protection did not show up. His security detail did not show up, and so a code red had been issued because his reports were blocked. His identity was leaked by FBI agent Connell Wetton to the cartel, and his transfer requests were denied, and a code red was issued, and he was outnumbered, forcibly removed from his barracks room and taken downstairs because he was a fighter. He was a fighter. He was a fighter. He was a black belt. That's why one of the perpetrators, our evidence says, had to have emergency dental surgery because he kicked someone right in the mouth really hard. But they took his life in the arms room downstairs in building 2479. And they took his life, and they then used their cartel connections, their Mormon Mafia cartel connections, and stole his body off of Fort Bliss and trafficked it across the border to Mexico, making this an international case, murder case. And also, evidence indicates that they organ harvested, that they dismembered him, that that they also cashed in on his remains as VA military benefits, um, humanitarian aid on the U.S. side for an unidentified migrant death. This was COVID, so they even got extra money for you know uh, being. I didn't get into all that COVID stuff because I didn't even pay attention to it. I mean, I was forced to have to deal with it, but I didn't even pay attention to it because I was too busy looking for my son, and I wanted to look people in the face, and I wanted them to see my face. Um, and I wanted to get close to people to get evidence, go on the street, right? We held 4 to 6 rallies a week. We went over to Juarez probably 3 dozen times. I don't know. I need to count it. It's on my Google Maps that you see all the little dots, and of course they have so many surveillance cameras. They would be able to show you that, but they won't be able. But they say they couldn't use cameras to follow how they trafficked Richard's body over to Juarez. We know that it was cartel infiltration in our intelligence community and our law enforcement community, and even on our military installation now. And because it was a code red, was issued by Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart. Um, so, yeah, so, we have all the receipts, we have the um, they should absolutely have been able to ping his phone and follow the cameras. They have the flock cameras today. Well, Juarez had those cameras for years now, pointing right out Fort Bliss and El Paso. And they have the Pegasus software where they could use that to uh, go into anybody's phone. They've been having that software that can breach anybody's passwords on phones for a long time now. And and you think the border protects? The border doesn't protect. They have that big Toro Centella tower, and all of their um, networks, instead of trying to prevent deaths, Maru Campos has been putting this surveillance in, but surveillance for what they want to use it for, not for fighting crime. Otherwise, they would have, but they knew they were involved um, in what happened to Richard, and also the disposal of his body. And so the evidence indicates that they were collecting on humanitarian aid for unidentified migrants, both on the U.S. side and on the Mexican side. And of course, Richard, that's why when we got this tip of these 3 autopsies, it was like, oh, what's going on? But with Leilani Hart's confessions and the VA, all of the investigations going on, and now with all of the fraud and investigations and the fuel theft and all of the trafficking, um, the arrests and all of those cases, and when you read through all of those cases, it corroborates everything that we're saying. So, we've had so many victories. Yesterday, we had a huge victory, and I'll share that with you soon. But, it's much more, you have to fight for justice. You have to fight for what's right and justice. Um, and in Richard's case, when you're dealing with this Mormon mafia cartel terroristic network, um, it's what we've accomplished is just a miracle. God's hand has been on all of this, so much so. Um, but you have to keep going. You have to keep going. It's not overnight. And so we have a lot of breaking news for you today. Uh, and of course, Montoya, I don't have to tell you that Montoya is fake. You can absolutely tell he's fake because of all the arrests that are going on right now and all of the connections with the law enforcement and the intelligence community and inside his own office. Um, which is part of our victory, and also in the AUSA's office and in the El Paso courthouse. You have the Brutus of the El Paso courthouse, John Briggs. You have the Tamperer, Justin Underwood. You have the orchestrated Walmart mass shooting, where you have the lead ranger on that case, with others. He's not the only one, but that's pretty authoritative. Well, when you have someone that is the lead investigator, like JT Juan Torres, the ranger, saying that the crime scene is staged, you don't need me to say it. You have him saying it. And then, of course, you do a closer look at all of the pictures um, and other evidence that's coming out, and you're like, oh, and the videos, and you're like, absolutely, absolutely. Now it makes sense because those pictures and the videos didn't make sense before. They didn't make sense. Just of Patrick Crucius being so clean and them not bagging his hands and the way they just treated him in the interview and that they just fed him information, but because he has a lifelong history of not passing kindergarten, right? Not being able to tie his shoes. And you can tell um, in these interviews and in the pictures and in all the other evidence. How they had, him um, eating the orange and um, surrendering not once but twice, because he wasn't precise. His timing wasn't precise. Anyway, and then, of course, explain the Mayela Crucius family connection with El Paso, right? The El Paso Mayela Crucius family with Patrick Crucius. It's just absolutely confirms that Montoya has not done his job at all, because he's a fake DA, a Mr. 2028 stamp, and he is causing as much trouble. And I've had some comments on the Facebook post about Maru Campos with the blood on her hands, which she does. Oh my gosh, look, that's just the over 9,000 deaths on her hand, on her watch, with an extra 222 um, baby deaths, that kind of blood on her hand. And those are just the reported numbers, right? They don't give us the whole truth, just like they don't give us the whole truth with the Plenitude Crematorium. And so, of course, they say, but it's on the American side too. And absolutely, this is not me saying Mexico versus the US. Okay, this is not that at all. This is where our sons' remains are, right? and we want our son's remains. And that's why that is relevant to us and important to, I mean, the whole thing is relevant, right? But why we're honing in on Maru Campos, because her mother was the overseer of that Plenitude crematorium, okay? The blood that she has on her hands, um, because this is a narco crematorium. This is not a legitimate crematorium. And I want to make that very clear, because that is tied to group of purchase, and group of purchase is huge. It's the huge funeral home network on both sides of the border. And so, where is Montoya doing his job? Right? And where is Maru Campos and Carlos Manuel Salas and the AG team in Chihuahua? Why aren't they doing their job? So that's the point. It's not Mexico versus the US. Matter of fact, it's Mexico and US versus the Mormon cartel terroristic infiltrators and networks that have been stealing fuel. No wonder it costs so much to buy fuel, right? Because I know for a fact, looking into it, it takes like what, $10 a barrel. You can make money off of $10 a barrel, and that's what they were doing. They were paying $10 a barrel, but charging people like they were paying $80 a barrel. So the wholesale amount was $80 a barrel, but they were stealing it and paying the cartel off $10 a barrel, right? And then it got very sophisticated because of how they labeled it and everything like that, so that they wouldn't have to pay taxes when they sold it, or however they did it. And you saw it was big ships, ships full, tankers full, all kinds of tanker trucks full. I mean, we're talking about massive, massive fuel theft. And why is that important? Because that is the reason for all the trafficking, for the child trafficking that was so massive, right? 500,000 through Fort Bliss. And many of them right now, we don't know where they're at. They're most likely not even alive. And that's not me saying it. That is officials saying it. Um, so the child trafficking and the drug trafficking and, this opium war, so to speak, that they did on Mexico and the United States, right? Bringing that in, they could have easily stopped it, but they didn't. They brought it in. And then they manipulated our society with their nasty media, hypnosis, and false stories and everything, and then with their orchestrated Walmart mass shooting, false flag things that they did to us, that brought terror into our families, that brought sorrow into our families, and then of course flood with the drugs and the alcohol and everything like that. Um, and why? To divert our attention so that they could steal this massive fuel and charge us, so that they could get rich illegally, on illicit gains. And that's why they had to infiltrate the judicial system, take away our right to have justice, obstruct justice. Why they even put Montoya in, right? Mr. 2028 stamp. He's so fake. His paperwork is so botched, y'all. Okay, and you have to have um, proper paperwork, and it's not so hard. It's easy paperwork in order to, even though you're voted in, you still have to install properly, legally, as the Texas Constitution states. And that is not fake Mr. 2028 Montoya. Thank you, Debbie. Good to see Gold Star Mom. Thank you so much. And of course, he, has a team there, like John Briggs, like John Briggs's wife, Amy Montevice. I hope I say that name right. And of course, Justin Underwood. But there's also Nadal Baim's family connections that are in the DA's office, and the Mayella connections that are in the DA's office. And of course, in the AUSA also. This is why they infiltrated, and this is why they take those illicit gains, which is a lot of money, and they fund politicians. And so then the politicians can't even do what they're supposed to do. I mean, we were denied our congressionals, right? We were denied our congressionals by fraudsters, right? Benito Torres, the aide for Veronica Escobar, he got caught impersonating lawyers so he can bring contraband into the ICE shelters, creating like a headquarters in the ICE shelters for the Mormon Mafia cartel network, right? I mean, and then of course you had Ted Cruz having our whistleblowers report naming the prime suspects in the murder of our son on his desk, and he never even told us. Okay, so this is because they are funded. They want the funding for their campaigns, for their elections, and it's a real problem. It's a very, very big problem. And so thank God for President Trump, um, for coming in and exposing all of this, right? Exposing all of this. And there's so much effort and money that's going to um, attack and attack and attack President Trump, right? Um, and whatever, I've got the red hat on, okay? Whatever. And I don't expect him to be perfect, because these demons that attack him, um, are so far worse, so far worse. But he's turning out to be absolutely brilliant, navigating through this um, decades long criminal enterprises, and exploitation, extortion, embezzlement, money laundering, the Watchicol fiscal, all of the military contracts that were compromising our generals. Uh, you know, it gets so complicated in all of this. But he's been real brilliant, just to be able to navigate it like he has. And so I'm going to show you a few pictures, or go through my posts and explain to you um, why they're so important. So let me put that on there. I think you can see that. Okay. So tonight's post, there's my beautiful son. And just beautiful. He's so good looking, Um, yeah. Okay. So I know it, my heart is just crazy. Okay. So the first one is President Trump putting up this truth, right? That claiming that the Strait of Hormuz is the new U.S. territory. And I wanted to give a little bit of our opinion on this whole thing. our take on it, because we know that the Strait of Hormuz is totally connected to the El Paso corridor, right? To all of this trafficking. When you have Nadal Bayim, and you can't see it in this picture because Kuwait is up here, right? Kuwait is right here in the strait, um, and then Qatar is right here, right? So when you when you know that Nadal Bayim is the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, meaning operations, okay, operations, and that we know that he's up to no good, and we know that Nadal Bayim is a Palestinian um, arms dealer, right? And also with all of these foreign car shops, right? These foreign car shops that we know now, foreign car shops, they were exporting foreign cars out and using them as shells for other trafficking, like guns and drugs and other things that they were trafficking in these automobiles, right? So and we know that when all of this was exposed and all the connections that Nadal Tussin Baim and his family and all of that, that his wife and him had to hurry up and get a divorce because there's a lot of storage units involved in all of this. A lot of assets, a lot of assets, a lot of real estate. You know, his daughter is really big in real estate. His other daughter, you know, that has all the connections in the DA's office and the AUSA's office. And of course, his wife with Gustavo Sanchez, the ranger that was assigned to our case. Um, there's all of this was coming out, and he tried to run. He tried to flee to Kuwait. He's being sued, right? Because of Western Frontier Trading that connects him to the Hearts. The properties connect him to the Hearts. Uh, and he tried to flee to Kuwait with $44,000 of stolen money. And so all of this, it's all connected to the Strait of Hormuz because of this oil theft. Okay. And the oil theft creates, a need to money launder. And their money laundering, we know, through online crypto and gambling program software, so, all of it got pretty sophisticated and because it's been going on a long time. So they got more and more sophisticated and more brazen, I would say, and more arrogant because they had captured El Paso. They had absolutely captured El Paso with Sam Medrano. He's so dirty. And the DPS, which I'm going to talk about tonight, the Department of Public Safety, which is really just a protection arm for the Mormon Mafia cartel network. An employer of it, an employer, they just get these $100,000 salaries, and they're absolutely thugs, right? And worse and worse. And so, the Strait of Hormuz being U.S. territory, uh, with this kind of connection that they're using that strait um, in connection with El Paso for their watchical fiscal, uh, uh, their fentanyl, right? Because the LPG, the gas, the natural gas, these are huge ships that leave from Texas, Brownsville area, all of that, Houston area, and all of this is connected to that. Okay. Purchase is connected to that area. The Lisa Weiss, the person that's in charge of elections, she's in charge. She has connections to that area. Of course, Paul Foster and his wife Alejandra de la Vega Foster, the double agent, right? The El Paso cartel double agent, and fuel theft. Uh, Fuel thief, they're fuel thieves with the William Sanders, who is the father-in-law of Beto O'Rourke. Now you know why they were funding Beto O'Rourke so much, because Beto O'Rourke was such a loser. It's like, why would you want him to be your candidate? But it's the connections, right? It's the connections, and William Sanders has the fuel connections and the storage connections, because if you're stealing a lot of fuel, you have to store it somewhere, right? You have to have the storage tanks, and the transportation for all of this. And then, of course, you have the connection with Woody Hunt, with the banking, with Star Bank. And you have the connection, of course, to the master money launderer, which was Jeffrey Epstein. That was right there. And then all the grifters, right? All the grifters that really are pretty evil, because they're into all of the trafficking. They are the ones that want to compromise everybody and make the world such a bad place that nobody could stand up and demand righteousness, right? Because if you demand justice, that's synonymous with righteousness. And so if you're compromised, you kind of cower. And you're like, oh, I don't want to, don't throw a stone at the glass, right? Because, I'm compromised, and they might find out what I've been doing. They might find out about my, whatever tricks or whatever foolery that I've been up to. So you have this network of people that their absolute job was um, to control the culture, right? Uh, and um, and compromise our soldiers, compromise our communities, our families, everything. So it gets pretty evil. And now we have, and I didn't really want to talk about this, but I will. You have all these women coming out in pink right now for this woman that on drugs or whatever, that took the lives of her children, and they're blaming doctors or whatever. But you have all these women coming out in pink. I don't believe it, y'all. I don't believe that's grassroots. I don't believe it one bit. Not one bit. I'm sorry. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think those are all orchestrated. Orchestrated. It's just not, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Nope. And they want you to think that you can blame the drugs for something that horrible, and or doctors. I heard Candace Owens blame the doctors, and I'm like, nope, no way. Mm-mm. I don't buy it. And all of that pink, 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 and that costs a lot of money. All those people going all out with their pink, and then going to all that. Nope, I don't buy it. Um, I think it's all uh, the hypnosis, the gang behind this oil theft, this trafficking, these people that want to control our culture and compromise people and make us think a certain way or divert our attention, and all of that. Now, and I could be wrong on that one, okay? But I'm just telling you from our 6 years and from all of our experience, and our investigations and the evidence and all of that. I don't buy it. And do I think that justice needs to be served and they need to go through the whole, does she need to go through the whole trials and everything, and we find out the evidence and all that? Yes. But this knee-jerk reaction with all the pink, nope, I don't buy it that is just grassroots. Nope. So, because they have a big network of people that are up to no good, that on their payroll, on their secret payroll. So Hillary's evergreen container got stuck. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So for President Trump to say, "I think this is American territory," I think it is because everything he does is a message, because he is in a war that's not like the war that we think, It's not a war with Iran. It is a war with, I want to say deep state, right? The shadow network. I think that's a good illustration. The Mormon mafia, cartel terror organizations. Um, so whatever, because those organizations are more than just the fuel theft, even though that's the biggie, and all the trafficking, but it's also gets into the organ trafficking and the babies on the black market, and I mean they're into everything, right? Into everything um, that's just not right. That's just not right. Not fitting. Not fitting. I like Gone with the Wind, Mammy, right? It's just not right. It's just not fitting. It's just not right. So yeah, so that's how our take is on this comment from President Trump. I think it is strategic. I think it's a message that he is sending, and it is not really the U.S. I think it is the uh, the lawful, those that want sovereignty for their countries, against those that want to work in the shadow. And I think that's why he says, I think it's American territory. That's his way of saying it. And of course he's protecting it. He's putting the power where his comments are. And yeah, so it's very interesting to watch what all is going on, because there's a lot of money, a lot of banks involved in all of this too. A lot of banks, a lot of manufacturing, because a lot of that is also controlled. But we need it, right? So we're in a catch 22. We can't just go out and arrest people, and just take down our whole economy, um, uh, because we do need to have civilization, right? So it is wow, what he's doing, what he's having to um, go through is just really um, amaze, and he's amazing doing it. At 80 years old. He's amazing doing it. And at the same time, oh, he had good news today. And I should have put up a post with this, that the Supreme Court did vote for him to continue building the American ballroom at the White House, the American military secured ballroom at the White House. And, it's like, why they even fought that, the left, they just could not stand if something beautiful is going to be built, right? And the White House, if you've been to Washington, D.C., you absolutely know that what he said was true. And it's so good to see the fountains working again, an attempt to get that reflecting pond working, and people have all these symbol, I've gotten so many comments, but it's like it's so good because you know, that's money that has to go towards that, and instead, which I rather have that, it going to fixing our fountains and making our nation's capital beautiful than in some cartel's pocket, right? So he's drying up their proceeds and making America beautiful, and our capital needs to be the epicenter of that. So that's especially if you have a country that wants to be sovereign. You want Mexico City. I mean, Mexico City has such amazing history. I want to go there so bad. Um, it has such amazing history. You want it to be brought up and taken care of, right? You want that. You want those, that the beautiful architecture and the culture and all of that preserved, because it's just amazing. So, but anyway, that's just a personal uh, input. Okay, so the next one is we have more arrests. We have more arrests, and these are from people from Brownsville. I even put a map here. This map is pretty good. Let's see. So, if you look at the map, here's Texas. So you're looking at this little, right along the Gulf of America, right? Where they can have big ships and everything. So here's Brownsville, here's Harlington, and here's Los Induos, Texas, where he was staying. That's not really be interesting to go down there with the little man. But all along this area um, is connections with El Paso. Okay, our individuals have property, and especially like Paul Foster, because he his fuel theft was coming from this area, this oil and into the Gulf. Um, this kind of fuel theft, Pemex. It was a Pemex fuel theft that he got sued for, or I guess he made a plea deal or whatever uh, in this area. So they have absolute connections to this area, and this is where the this guy here. Look at this big, humongous ship, right? That they load all their stuff on. I mean, these are big operations. These are massive fuel theft. Okay, and and it's a real, it's like, wow, no wonder our fuel is so much. It could be so cheap. The barrel could be down to $10 a barrel, and they would still make money off of it, right? So now we have the energy secretary saying that we have so much oil that we can, and fuel, natural gas, that we could, the price can be really low. So yeah, if they keep, if President Trump's administration, with President Scheinbaum and others, like in Ecuador, they made some arrests there. There's a lot going on there. And I believe Peru too. So they're working all together to stop the fuel theft, the massive fuel theft, and these also the precursors for all of the drugs, right? And if we can get rid of the fuel theft, I think that is going to really stop the drug trafficking, right? Because and all the other trafficking, because this is what finances it. And that's not me saying it. That's even like this DPS director. And I have to show you the picture of it. If you didn't see the DPS director, Freeman, let's look at it real quick. Because these two brothers, that's the Brown, right? These and Brown, and I do want to say this too, and I hope you read our post, but Brown is very attached to the Mormon colonies in Chihuahua. That surname is like one of the main founders of the Mormon colonies in Chihuahua. So, just to tell you that, and that's over 100 years ago. So, that is a red flag. That is something to look into, those kind of family connections and everything. Um, and it might not be anything there, but uh, you know, I think there probably is. Yeah. Oh, Freeman Martin. I wonder uh if he's a relative of Chris Martin, right? The guy that was looking for Richard's head in the desert, digging for Richard's head in the desert. I mean, oh gosh, what a horrible, horrible person. Um and there's so much more to that story. So much more, but that's for another day. Okay, so this is the DPS director, Freeman Martin. And look at this. Look at these faces. Look at this guy's face, man. He is oh, I can't tell you how happy that makes me. That makes me so happy because that means they're under so much pressure and they rightfully need to be under so much pressure. What they have done, because the DPS is absolutely compromised, totally compromised. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't have the receipts for it. But, Company E totally compromised, and we have filed. Okay, we have filed and filed and filed. And of course, Nadal Baim, the guy that tried to flee to Kuwait with $44,000 of stolen money, the father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado, the Palestinian arms dealer, right? Um, Trying to sell $3 million worth of, what was it? Guns or ammunition to the police department, the El Paso Police Department. I mean, this is the same guy who has very close family ties to Gustavo Sanchez, the DPS ranger that was assigned to our case. And, what is just such a network and such a setup. And of course, we put it in this that, all of the problems, but here is the problem, and you can read that. I hope you do, with Jose Sanchez, with the trooper Patrick Brookshire, and then of course Gustavo Sanchez and Texas Ranger JT Torres. Um, and there's more. Oh yeah, Cody Carter too. We put him in there too. And there's more. Okay, there's more. But those are the main, and they have connections with Company E. That's just totally infiltrated. So, but what did DPS director? And don't forget the empty lot beside Dreams Cabaret, the strip joint, right? Where they were dropping off children. This was a testimony. They were dropping off children at strip joints and in empty lots. And we have, there was the Department of Texas Transportation right next to that, with all of their trucks and this and that. Um, and we had Trooper Brookshire, his family is connected to this uh, Dreams Cabaret strip joint network. So, they were infiltrating and then using their positions very badly. Uh, for protection or for the aiding and abetting of the Mormon Mafia cartel terror network. Um, so what does DPS Director Freeman Martin, who we know he's gotten quite a bit of letters from us, um, he says that cartel fuel smuggling, and I should put in cartel terror, because these are terror organizations, okay? Fuel smuggling has now exceeded narcotics. Mhm. So he is corroborating what we've been saying, that it is all about the fuel theft, that the narcotics are a way of uh, compromising individuals so that the fuel theft can go on unchallenged as much as it possibly can. So, and that's why Jeffrey Epstein was into it, right? With all the children and the young girls and all of that, because he's in with the same group, you know, and so to protect their illicit gains of millions, they have to compromise everybody around them. Okay, so he's saying that this estimate is 12 billion, 21 billion. I mean, wow, those are huge numbers. And you have to know that they don't tell us the whole truth. So I think these numbers are much bigger, but that is even really big numbers right there, right? Because is that the 1 billion a year that Texas loses in tax revenue because of this fuel theft? I mean, even that, I think they're not telling us the whole truth. They minimize the numbers, right? But anyway, we have to use the numbers they give us, and those are huge numbers. So I can't even imagine I can't even imagine what I think the real numbers are. Um, yeah, and they're smuggled from Texas to Mexico each year. But there is Mexico Pemex smuggling to the United States as well. And we know that through the Jensens, right, that were just indicted, the Mormon Mafia family, Jensens, and their son, Maxwell Jensen, that wanted to even start in Carlsbad, right? That because of this train that goes up to Clovis, the Clovis, and that got so much attention because people know that Clovis is the big train. I mean, I think it's like 90 train cars go out of there every day. I mean, it's huge. So, yeah, this is just the DPS director, Freeman Martin, who doesn't want to tell the truth, y'all. I can tell you that right now. We have the receipts and evidence that they don't want to tell the truth, okay? But they're being pressured. I mean, the pressure is squeezed. They're being squeezed. And so they're having to say this truth. And this truth is that there is a problem, that there is a problem. And we've given them so much money, the DPS, and they, oh my gosh, I remember standing on the corner at one of our rallies and the big black SUV, right? The big black SUV, it probably was a Suburban, sitting there, and I'm doing the rally, so I'm not really paying attention. They're just watching. He comes over, no, Rob goes, who is that guy watching us in that big black and the windows tinted, so he just goes right over to them. Oh, and he's like, I don't know, Rob could tell you, we got his name and everything, but he was a DPS, he wasn't the director, but he's like big in charge of the DPS. I mean, they're checking us out doing a rally for our son, and you've got fuel theft and trafficking of every kind and the money laundering and the extortion, all this stuff going on. You have lawyers that are picking up trafficking victims from their captors and having their way with them in a hotel and then taking them back to their captors. I mean, where is the DPS, right? Where is the DPS? So so I can tell you we have so much receipts of their failures. And so here he's sitting, uh, he's sitting there all pressed and proper, right? You couldn't even tell how dirty they are because they're all pressed and proper, because they're they're deceivers, right? They operate in deception. and they're it's kind of like Justin Underwood, right? He puts out all of these patriotic little pictures and everything, but everything he does is working against the United States, against sovereignty, and I would say even against Mexican sovereignty. So they're deceivers, and they have to have this image. Their image and their reputation is their currency, and now that it is being exposed, um, what are they going to sell, right? What are they going to sell? They can't sell their deception anymore. They can't say, okay, I can be the arbitrator. I can deceive these people. I'm the actor, right? Because they think I'm the greatest. It's kind of like Michael Gonzalez too, in charge of the the Police Federation, whatever. I mean, he's like sending me a picture like I am the greatest. I'm anointed by God, and he's doing the most evil things with what is it, Amber Chase. With Amber Chase. Oh gosh, and if you guys know who Amber Chase is, if you've been watching long enough, then you know who Amber Chase is. But she's just really a vile, vulgar individual. um so yeah, this is compromising people that are in uniform, and I can just tell you that he's under pressure because he did not want to say the truth, and he had to say this little bit of truth, and so we're very grateful for it. And I'm being easy on these people. You might think, gosh, no, I'm being easy on these people because yeah, the next thing is the blood on the hands, right? The blood on the hands of Mauro Campos. And I'm not saying it, it's being reported in Mexico. 9,514 murders, y'all, not deaths, just murders, and 222 femicides. 95% of those killings remain unsolved. Okay, 95% of them. That is just like that's genocide by negligence. Yeah. So she has, and don't forget, her mother was allowed that whole plenitude crematorium, narco crematorium, because if the murderers know they have a place to put the evidence, and that you're going to cover up for them, that they can, uh, you know, uh, get released or not even charged by a hand-picked compromise Carlos Manuel Salas, as far as a prosecutor, or by judges that can be bribed and stuff. But they need a place to put that, the evidence, the bodies, and her mother ran that plenitude crematorium, no permit, rat infested, no air conditioned, no potable water, no rhyme or reason. Or well, I'll show you a picture of it. Did I put a picture up for it? um where did I put a picture up? Maybe it was below here. No, I didn't put a picture up. But yeah, so she's absolutely, um they're a mother-daughter duo. That's what they are. And they have blood on their hands. And 95% get away. Get away with it, you know? Um, yeah, it's covered up. So, I think I'm being very easy on these people. They absolutely need to be arrested, and they need to face the full power of the law. And I hope that President Scheinbaum will do that. I hope so, because they're so brazen and they're so arrogant. Mauro Campos has been attacking the president, right? Like, really disgusting. And, I really hope that President Scheinbaum will hold Mauro Campos and her mother accountable. So there's many others like Carlos Manuel Salas and Cesar Hargi and all of them. But yeah, uh, and Harfu, maybe he'll do something, you know. Um, I don't know. It's going to be, the Mexican people will have to demand it because right now, why is she still there? She's the governor of death. She's the governor of death. It's kind of like why Montoya is still there, you know. This is personal for us because of our son. Um, so I'm not saying one's better than the other or whatever. We're just focused on this area because I know that she met with the new consul general there at the embassy. I'm wondering what that discussion was like, right? I wish I had a fly on the wall. Oh, maybe we do have a fly on the wall. We'll see. We'll see. So, anyway, this is it's hard to look at, I know. And then of course these are very hard to read, but this is something that from X. Let's see if I can open it up. This was in Europe, and a 13-year-old was vacationing, and she was assaulted by three migrants, and they say it's enough, and sure enough, Elon Musk posted it and said it's enough, and of course, he has so many followers that makes a huge difference. So that was a really good thing. The problem is, well, not the problem, but our and I thank everyone for sharing, right? I thank everyone for sharing because we are making a huge impact with, and I don't have, we, the following of Elon Musk, that's for sure. So I'm really appreciate for every share that everyone does here. But we have the confessions of Lalani Hart, and with what they did to children, and the emergency intake center. And some people say it's 300,000, 350,000, 400,000, 450,000, and I just say it's a 500,000. I just go there. Because they don't tell us the truth. They just absolutely don't tell us the truth. There's so many victims that are the unseen victim, and so I just say, look, uh, there were victims before they built that emergency intake center, because Richard was reporting on them, and his reports got blocked, and then his retaliation went crazy, and he asked for transfers, and his transfers were denied, and then of course the code red. So and this there is no need for that emergency intake center of hundreds of thousands of children being abused like that, right? Because Lalani Hart she filed a confession about her facilitation of child exploitation, and her immigration fraud status, um, and they didn't arrest her, and they didn't even put it in the news. And so Richard was warning, starting 2019, and and that emergency intake center wasn't built until March of 2021. And Veronica Escobar went there in April and said, "Oh, this is really nice. This is really nice." And and it wasn't nice, y'all. And she's up to no good. I don't think she likes children. I don't think so. So So let's read some of these comments. I'm going to turn this off now. And thank you, Debbie. Thank you for all your comments here. Remember when, I read that one. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you for your prayer and your love. An agreement from Debbie. Thank you. Voice of Skull Technology. The psych meds are witchcraft. It's tragic what they're doing to people's minds. Absolutely. It is. It is. And that's why that needs to go through trial, right? We need to hear the whole trial about that mother, right? We need to hear it. But I'm saying all of these that they say is grassroots, all these people coming out in full pink like that, no, I don't believe it. Now, I might be wrong, but I don't believe it. I believe that there is a lot of money that goes into funding groups like that. And yeah, so yeah. The war is with dark powers and principalities. Absolutely. I agree with that. He's a champ. Thank you. Thank you, Steph Smith, for coming on. So thank you all. And we're just so grateful for all of your sharing, and we hope that you continue to share. And we also have a petition out there right now for, at least a Purple Heart for Richard, to award him for his bravery. That you can read the petition, and I probably need to renew it because some new things have come out. But if you can sign the petition to award him, we would really, really be grateful, and maybe get others to sign it also. And thank you so much for coming on so late and early in the morning to this live stream. God bless you, and I'll be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye.